school bully's crush on me, which I mistakenly thought was mutual. When school bully Xiao Yian threw a small stone at my window for the 50-2nd time, I could no longer contain my anger. I yanked open the window and shouted angrily, "The school beauty is next door. Stop smashing the windows already." The room downstairs fell instantly silent. I stared at the scratched minus-up glass, feeling utterly frustrated more than his embarrassment. I felt sorry for the window that had been smashed for over 50 days. My name is Lan Mengyu, and I'm just an unremarkable senior student, easily overlooked in the crowd. I have an ordinary appearance, average grades, and an introverted personality, always the one who gets most easily ignored in class. This semester, the biggest gossip in our class is that the school bully, Xiao Yian, has gone crazy pursuing the school beauty, Su Huan, and coincidentally, the three of us happen to be in the same class. During breaks from solving practice problems, I'd also chat with my classmate about our own little couple storyline. Watching Xiao Yian go to great lengths to win over Su Huan felt like the only real joy in an otherwise monotonous senior year. But who could have predicted that this very source of amusement would end up landing right on my head? Xiao Yian got the address wrong, and those 50-2 days worth of pebbles ended up smashing right into my window. Every night, he would call out tenderly from downstairs, "Zuan, I love you." Yet the person he was pursuing lived next door, and time after time, it was my window that got hit. I used to wonder why Zuan, faced with his advances, neither accepted nor rejected them. Meanwhile, the clueless Xiao Yian just assumed she was shy and kept persistently throwing stones at my window. At first, I managed to hold back, thinking that if it meant making them happy, it didn't matter if the window took a bit of a beating. But after 50-2 days had passed and Zhu Huan still showed no sign of life, and just as the rainy season began, with frequent typhoons, the glass could no longer withstand the constant strain. Finally, I decided it had enough, and that's when I let out the furious roar we heard at the beginning. I thought the whole thing would just fade away, but the next day when I walked into the classroom, I was immediately surrounded by my classmates' stares. The whispers pierced my ears. "Is this the girl Zhao's been chasing? She's so ordinary? Zhu Wan is way more attractive than her. She's just a bookworm." Lan Mengyu. I instinctively lowered my head, trying to make myself less noticeable, but when I glanced at the milk and pastries on the table, I froze instantly. This was clearly the breakfast Zhao Yan used to give Zhu Huan every day. How come it's here in my place? My first reaction was to think it was a prank. I hurriedly placed the breakfast on Zhu Huan's table, arranging it neatly, just wanting to distance myself from it all. But the murmurs around me grew even louder. "What's going on with Lan Mengyu?" It was Xiao Ji who put it on her table. Because of long minus-term sleep deprivation and endless practice problems, my mental exhaustion has awakened an extraordinary sense of hearing. Now I can clearly hear even the quietest whispers from my classmates. Looking at my own reflection in the mirror, a face devoid of makeup, heavy dark circles under my eyes, and covered in acne, I can't help but compare myself to Zhu Huan, who is fair-skinned and stunningly beautiful. All I can think is that this must be some cruel prank played on me. Just then, Xiao Yian came back from the restroom and saw the breakfast on Zhu Huan's table. His face instantly turned ashen with anger. He walked straight over to me, placed the breakfast back on my table, and pressed down on my final exam question. Then, in a low, menacing voice, he said, "Here you go." I raised my head mechanically, catching only a glimpse of his sharp jawline as he turned away, and my heart inexplicably skipped a beat. But the sudden gasps from my classmates instantly brought me back to my senses. They were all saying that Xiao Yian really did like me, and the pairing had been shipping had completely taken a tragic turn. I hurriedly lowered my head to stare at my practice problems, but my cheeks were burning. My mind was nowhere near the book, and all I could think about was the scene from just a moment ago. Before long, Zhu Huan walked in, and I was so nervous that I didn't dare to look up, but she just gave me a gentle smile. Then the student at the desk in front of me passed me a note. Let's go home together after school. I've got something to say. My heart was pounding in my throat as I hesitantly typed good and sent it back. But then, lost in thought, I got called into the teacher's office. The teacher reminded me not to stay up late and even mentioned that my mom had specifically asked him to keep an eye on me. It was only then that I remembered I was a left-behind child. My parents were away working far from home year after year. As I stepped out of the office, sunlight warmed my skin. Just as I looked up, I saw Xiao Yian standing not far away, his gaze fixed straight on me, calm and composed, devoid of the excitement HED once shown toward Zhu Huan. I gave myself a self-deprecating smile, turned around, and headed back to the classroom. But he quickly hurried after me. Are you okay? I ignored him, feeling deeply hurt, angry at him for making a fool of me when it was clear he didn't like me in the first place, and for making me fall head over heels only to leave me plagued by self-doubt afterward. We walked along in silence the whole way, drawing quite a bit of attention from onlookers. So I simply made up my mind once and for all I'd throw myself into my studies and stop paying any attention to all this nonsense. Finally, school was over. I took the initiative to help Su Huan tidy up her desk. She smiled and thanked me, then took my hand. Actually, we've been neighbors since we were kids though. I've always been introverted. She's always been warm and outgoing. Just as we were about to leave the classroom, Xiao Yian called out to us, his face full of confusion. When did you two become so close? The look in his eyes as he glanced at Zhu Huan was filled with admiration, gentleness it never received from him before. Zhu Huan replied politely, we're neighbors, we've known each other for years. After saying that, she took my hand and led me away. As they walked into the alley, Zhu Huan finally spoke up, bringing up the topic of her relationship with Xiao Yian. I admitted frankly that it'd been shipping their couple, yet she quietly confessed that what she really liked was Xiao Yian's older brother, Xiao Chenjuan. Faced with Xiao Yian's advances, she didn't dare to refuse nor to come clean, for fear of upsetting Xiao Chenjuan. So she just kept putting it off, and my arrival happened to come at exactly the right moment to rescue her from this awkward situation. I quickly said, there's nothing going on between me and Xiao Yian. But she leaned closer to me and asked teasingly, Xiao Yian is really handsome. Had you ever felt a flutter in your heart? Thinking about breakfast earlier that day, my cheeks instantly flushed red. She'd spotted my little secret in an instant. She asked again, if he really pursued you, would you be willing to give it a shot? I just took it as a hypothetical and, for some reason I called and explained. Blurted out, he'd be willing. As soon as he finished speaking, Zhu Huan suddenly turned me around. I saw that not far away, in the alleyway, Xiao Yian was sneaking along furtively. When he was spotted, he looked so embarrassed he didn't dare to meet our eyes. Zhu Huan pulled me forward and bluntly asked him if he'd been following us. Xiao Yian stubbornly claimed it was just a coincidence that they were passing by. Zhu Huan didn't call him out on it. Instead, she said she was heading to buy some ointment, and without giving me a chance to protest, she pushed me right up next to him, then turned around and walked away, leaving the two of us staring at each other in silence. I was both angry and frustrated, feeling that Zhu Huan was taking advantage of me. I turned around and started to walk away, but Xiao Yian kept following behind me, silently accompanying me all the way. After a long silence, he suddenly spoke. His voice firm. I'll take responsibility for you. He instantly flew into a rage, stopped in my tracks, and shouted, we have nothing to do with each other. Why are you taking responsibility? I broke your window. It was my fault. I'll chase after you and take full responsibility for you. It turned out his concern was just because HED broke in the window. All those heart-fluttering moments suddenly became a joke, and tears welled up in my eyes in an instant. I shouted, I don't need it, and turned around, running straight back home. When I got home, I looked at my ordinary reflection in the mirror, feeling deeply wronged yet determined not to give in. Actually, I'm not just an ordinary left-behind child. I come from a family with an affluent young lady, deliberately hiding her identity, just wants to quietly focus on her studies. Xiao Yan got the address wrong because my family lives in a villa, while the neighboring building is an apartment complex in Zhu. One's demeanor simply seems more fitting for a wealthy young lady. Looking at the shattered window, I secretly vowed to shake off mediocrity, not only by studying hard but also by showing Xiao Yi on a different side of myself. The next day, I got up early and dressed myself with great care. In the mirror, I saw a face with delicate eyebrows and eyes, and skin so smooth and radiant that I outshone even Zhu Huan. As soon as I stepped into the classroom, the whole class gasped in astonishment. No one could believe that this stunning girl was none other than the previously unremarkable Lan Mingyu. I sat down calmly, brimming with anticipation for Xiao Yian's reaction. But when he placed the breakfast and roses on my table, his gaze remained as calm and unflappable as ever, completely devoid of any emotion. Instantly, the spark of determination in my heart was extinguished, leaving me feeling utterly self-mocking. It turns out that what HES always cared about wasn't my appearance at all. And yet, I just couldn't let go. Filled with deep disappointment, I refused the driver's offer of a ride home after school. Clutching my ID, I walked into a bar hoping to drown my sorrows in alcohol. I drank myself senseless and impulsively declared that I'd cover the entire tab for everyone present. Brandishing my black card and splurging recklessly. In a daze, Xiao Yian suddenly appeared before me. I tried to tell him to leave, but he scooped me up in his arms instead. He pulled me close into his arms, glaring coldly at the ill-intentioned people around us as he carefully led me away from the bar. I cried and struggled in his embrace, but he softly told me to stay still, his voice tinged with a hint of frustration. As a cold breeze swept through, I gradually came to my senses. Raising my head, I met his deep, piercing gaze and saw the panic and concern hidden in the depths of his eyes. Finally, I broke into a smile. Under the street lamp, we looked at each other in silence. Leaning on the warmth of the alcohol, I asked, "Do you like Zhu Huan?" Xiao Yan looked at her with a serious expression. Before, I thought her gentleness was just because she was kind, maybe even that I liked her. But now I realize it's you I've really come to like. I lowered my gaze. Feeling dejected, is it because you broke the window that you're suddenly willing to take responsibility? Not entirely. He paused briefly. Actually, I'd met you a long time ago at a banquet. Back then, I didn't even have the slightest chance of getting close to you. I was filled with confusion, and no matter how hard I searched through my memories, I couldn't recall any related scenes. Just then, a car pulled over, and Xiao Yian picked me up and put me inside. It wasn't until then that I realized the driver was his older brother, Xiao Chenjuan, the very same person my father had once expelled from the banquet and relentlessly oppressed in every way. I panicked instantly and started shouting that I wanted to get off the car. Xiao Chenjuan smiled and said, "The grudges of previous generations won't involve me." Xiao Yan stood nearby, softly reassuring me as well. Finally, we arrived at my doorstep. As I stepped out of the car, I stumbled, and Xiao Yian instinctively wrapped his arms around me. His gaze was tender yet firm. "Lan Mingyu, please give me a chance." "Okay?" Looking into his sincere eyes, I could no longer hold back and softly replied, "Okay." Not far away, Xiao Chenjuan shook his head in resignation. This relationship was destined to face many obstacles, yet he was also filled with anticipation. Back home, I lay on the bed, tossing and turning. The long-buried memories gradually came into sharp focus. 2 years ago at that banquet, Xiao Yian had been struggling to stand out amidst the crowd. Li greeted me, but I didn't pay much attention. My father even mistakenly suspected him of having ulterior motives and chased them away. Little did I know that this budding attraction had already been planted back then. The weekend was the day Xiao Yian had asked me to meet him. I put on a white dress and headed downstairs, only to be sharply called back by my father. Upon learning that I'd been seeing Xiao Yian, my father flew into a rage, firmly opposed the relationship, and ordered me to go back to my room. I was so hurt that tears streamed down my face, yet I didn't dare to disobey. Gazing at the roses Xiao Yian had left outside the window, I sent him a message. He replied that he wouldn't give up just because his father objected. He'd work hard to become outstanding and earn his father's approval. He even made a promise with me. We'd both get into universities in the same city. Since then, we focused all our energy on studying, even though our father kept a close watch on us. As soon as we caught sight of each other in the classroom, we felt instantly motivated. After the college entrance exam ended, on the day I checked my scores, I was so nervous that my palms were sweating. When I saw the 672 points on the screen, I was so thrilled that tears welled up in my eyes. This was the result of my day minus after minus day hard work. Soon, Xiao Yan sent a message 672. We tied for the same score and got accepted into the same university. I tiptoed down the stairs. My father remained serious, but my mother smiled gently and took my hand, leading me out the door. As soon as I stepped outside, rose petals were swirling all around. Xiao Yan, dressed in a white suit and holding a large bouquet of roses, stood amidst the petals, his gaze gentle as he looked at me. Though my father wore a serious expression, he gave us a subtle nod, lightly giving his blessing. I dashed toward Zhao Yan, and he caught me firmly in his arms. His eyes were reddened with emotion as he said, "Finally, I'm worthy of you." It turned out that during his senior year, Xiao Yan not only studied relentlessly but also started a business in his spare time. With his hard work and determination, he earned his father's recognition and broke through the barriers posed by his family background and the lingering resentment from previous generations. Years later, as I gazed at the baby in the stroller, I softly recounted the story of those days, their fate that had begun with a stone accidentally thrown astray. Xiao Yan gently wrapped his arms around me from behind and said in a playful tone, "The child still too young to understand, tell it to me instead." I turned to look at him, and his eyes were filled with tenderness. That tender and passionate youth, beginning with a chance accidental collision, eventually became the destiny that would bind us for a lifetime. Those encounters that seemed random were, in fact, predestined. Heart minus flutters.